Welcome everyone to this Culture Lab 21 conference, which has been organized by our institution, Cultural Center of Novi Sad, from till 2018. This is the second panel of this year, because we have a first panel in the first part of the year, and this is the second panel. I will a little bit explain that we are discussing in this panel about trendy and recent topics in arts and culture sector. Today we will have two groups of participants, and I will say great thank to the people from the Eindhoven, for the Tim van der Grinten and Misak Terbesian, well-known architects, who will join us in the first panel, and as well Miljana Zekovic from the University of Novi Sad, also architect. The second part of this conference will be more oriented to the art and innovation in art sector, and we will have a very significant person who works with art and artificial intelligence, researcher from Institute of Philosophy and Social Theory from Belgrade, Ms. Jelena Guga, also from Dublin and Brussels, I will say, James Doyle, who will speak about the art management innovation in the concept of Europe. And in the end, we have an artist who join us from Rome, Italy. He will explain his work, his sculpture, that made music. So I will please Tim van der Grinten to start with his presentation.
Sure thing. Yeah, so many thanks to the organization for allowing me to do this presentation. It's always really nice to tell stories about the things you're passionate about. And as an architect, I'm really passionate about game technology. So I've split this presentation in three parts. First, I'll start with an introduction of me and what I'm doing. Then I'll hop on to the Dutch Design Week, an event that's currently about to start in Eindhoven. And then I'll quickly do a dive in one of our projects, and that's about the impact of virtual humans. So I started out as an architect. I still have a passion for architecture, but these days I'm co-founder and creative director of a gaming studio. Both professions actually have quite a lot in common because they both engage in telling stories and creating spatial experiences in which people come together. So my field of work changed, but the core idea of bringing people together, let them experience things and help them to achieve their goals is still the same. Immersive experiences are quite a broad term, of course. For me, immersive experiences are game-driven interactive applications that immerse the users in a social interaction. Usually we use virtual and mixed reality media, but this combination of technology allows you to tell interactive experiences across a wide array of fields. So in below you can see that, you can apply it for gaming, of course, but you can also apply it for education, edutainment, training, and simulation. And game technology, as an architect, I started out using this technology just for architectural visualization, which is quite logical, of course, as an architect. But in doing so, I actually discovered that the pure fact that you can interactively immerse people in a spatial experience not only allows you to visualize things, but also allows you to get completely different insights from what you're designing and what you're creating. You actually break down the barrier between you as an architect and the regular folk that needs to give feedback on your design. So as a designer, you usually struggle in communicating this, while if you actually can place someone in VR in an environment, they start behaving and experiencing and giving feedback in a totally normal way. So as a studio, as a company, we founded Enversed Studios, and we are actually a gaming innovation studio. So we help other companies to use game technology to innovate their business and in a wide array of applications. And one of the goals of this presentation for me is also to kind of broaden the view of what game technology can do, maybe also inspire you to think about what you can do with this tech. And so some examples, for instance, you can see here. So we create simulators for musea. We create fire safety training for hospitals. We create escape rooms that teach people about historical environments. We create simulations that test if autonomous driving is safe or not. We build factory simulations so that people can see if their new factory is going to work, and so on. And this field has really been exploding the latest since 6 to 7 years. And with the emergence of artificial intelligence and better graphics, the possibilities seem to be endless. But the core problem always remains the same. You need to design these applications. So as a designer, we find it a great challenge to actually come together with the client and actually define what should be made, because being able to make almost anything is nice, but is also complicated. So for the Dutch Design Week, the event that is currently being hosted in Eindhoven again every year, we will have a Game Changers exhibition, and it's actually an exploration of the positive impact of emerging game technology. So I'll first shortly introduce the Dutch Design Week. The expo itself will feature numerous experiences across the art field, but also the virtual humans on the right, you can already see them. But also, for instance, on the left side, the emergence of mixed reality formats in which people can use holograms together for work or for gaming. But what is the Dutch Design Week? So for me, the Dutch Design Week is a special experience or a special event because it is also one of the reasons that we could actually start our company. Our company was founded from the Dutch Design Week exhibitions that we did. So in the early days of Enversed, we were actually a couple of entrepreneurs, each busy with their own innovations on VR and on gaming. And we got together for this Dutch Design Week exhibition. And that exhibition went so well that we eventually decided to create Enversed as a company. So for me personally, it's really an event that drives innovation and gives young entrepreneurs the ability to showcase their work. On a wider level, the Dutch Design Week is not just an expo. It is actually a full year program that facilitates designers to come with solutions for the challenges that we face as humanity. So it is an expo in a week that showcases, of course, all kinds of different design solutions, but it actually has missions that it's striving for to fix or to solve. In that way, it is quite an optimistic event that actually brings together a really wide field of people in one location that you would normally not find in one location at all. So typically an exhibition is either really business oriented, or it is artistic, or it is purely for designers. But in the Dutch Design Week, you can even see just regular families discussing about the newest technological trends, because they can also visit this expo. The expo is in the middle of the city. It is everywhere around you. So it is something special in that case. It is really connective. Next to the missions, they have a couple of design perspectives that they use to kind of organize the Dutch Design Week as a whole. Because of course, design is such a broad term that you can almost apply it on anything. As a studio, we are in here, more on the innovative design side, but you also have these other parts like product design and speculative design. So why I think the Dutch Design Week is unique, it brings together a wide audience. It is a blend between business, design, and regular audience. It is really easy to participate, so they don't ask like high fees or it doesn't cost you much to participate as a company. And it actively helps young designers to come with new ideas and to make an impact. So yeah, that is my short view on why the Dutch Design Week is special. Then back to the game technology side. So why is game technology relevant for the Dutch Design Week or designers at all? Well, mainly because games are so much more than entertainment. So, of course, the entertainment industry is really big, but for most people, it is something that they don't really see daily in their work. While the things that we see is that if you look at the images on my slides now, to the right, you see a game in which people are playing like a snowball battle game. While on the left, you can see a traffic simulation in which we actually simulate the behavior of people in different traffic scenarios. Both of these images are being created with the same technology, game engines. So what you see to the right is, okay, it's based on fun, it's social interaction, team building maybe, but on the left, you're actually building something that is scientifically and product-wise interesting for businesses and architects and designers alike. And the core element herein is interactivity. So because many challenges that we face today seek connection and engagement, and gaming is about engagement. Game technology allows us to create interactive environments in which you are not spectating or not listening only to information, but you're actually participating. You're engaging with the content. And engagement is kind of a core human interaction that is not only useful to learn stuff, but also to create your opinion about things or to get insights. And because we seek ways to share experiences, and because we learn and understand via experience, the combination of game technology, virtual reality, and mixed reality, gives a totally new landscape of possibilities. It actually frees you from the constraints of the physical world and allows you to iterate on ideas and concepts before you're actually physically realizing them. So whether you're an architect or whether you're planning a new public space, whether you're creating interactive lighting, whether you're doing research about psychological effects of design solutions, this can all be done. And designing these applications is our job. So in the middle, for instance, that's a really nice one. You can see someone cleaning a floor in virtual reality. There's actually a training to train people how to clean room environments. So a clean room is so clean that you cannot see the dirt usually. So people had to clean these rooms with like a memorized pattern with a timing to not miss anything. But training this is quite complex actually, because you need to have a fixed speed and you need to clean the towel and you need to do all kinds of procedures during the process. But with virtual reality, you can actually help users doing this while they are training. So we can add information in virtual reality to support them while learning. Just one example. Well, the virtual human side. So virtual humans is actually quite a relative new field, because when we think about computers and when we think about digital environments, it is seldom the case that we can actually interact with digital human characters without it becoming really strange. Usually interactions are locked behind multiple choice questions or other stuff. And the reason why the impact of virtual humans is so big is because in all the experiences that you've just seen, if you would add realistic human interactions, then you're actually moving towards an entirely new level of engagement. People love to engage with other characters. People love to talk, to discuss. But the problem of game environments is that it's really hard to simulate discussions with actual people, while this is quite essential for a lot of training or simulation environments. So imagine, for instance, that you want to practice or train an aggressive situation, like a police officer needs to calm down someone that is stressed. Those kind of situations are really hard to practice, but with virtual humans, it's actually becoming viable to create these things in VR or in a game. And so these days, this kind of interactions are normal. So what you see here is usually multiple choice dialogue in which you're restrained to reacting to a character by selecting one of the pre-designed answers. And this, of course, kind of gives away the effect of the training, because you cannot speak freely, but you actually need to read the possible answers and then decide on what to do. While these can already be effective, they are actually quite a strain to do, because the entire conversation, you're not actually conversating, you are making multiple choice decisions. So as a team, we set out to design an application that can do it differently. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so this is an example of where meta-humans, like digital humans, are today. And you can imagine that with the rise of artificial intelligence and with the rise of all the other technologies, this will only become better and better. But the true problem is not the visual representation, but how are you going to create the realistic interaction? What's going to drive the emotions and the characters' behavior and speech? So one part that you need is you need to be able to quickly track your face. So we need information about the people that are actually in virtual reality themselves. So what you see here is how good simulation technology is becoming. On the right, you see a virtual human. On the left, you see a live tracking solution. So by combining this with the digital environment, you can actually create game environments in which avatars can react on how the virtual reality player is actually looking or not looking at you. Important thing about this is that conversations or interactions with other people in virtual reality is not only about speech, it's about the total human communication field. So it's also about eye contact, about position of the head, about body language. Generative artificial intelligence is a really important part of this project because we're actually using AI to drive the characters in virtual reality. What you see here on these images is kind of a simple abstract visualization on why generative AI has been so hot lately, is that in the past, all these fields that you see here, like text, audio, image, and video, have all been different artificial intelligence research fields. But with the rise of generative AI, like big language models, they actually succeeded in translating everything to text. So all the different generative AI themes are now one theme. They are actually text-based artificial intelligence. So with the rise of ChatGPT and these kinds of systems, you now see that once they can read and create text and understand text, or at least create an output on text, you can actually use these to create characters and to create conversations. So this application that we're designing right now allows players to actually talk to virtual characters in scenarios that are AI-driven. And those AI-driven characters, they are based on character types. So in this way, you can experience in a really safe environment. You can train yourself to give feedback, to deal with different situations, to learn to present, all that kind of stuff. And the interesting part about it is that the data that you collect throughout the application, so in every decision you make, you actually can get tips on how to improve yourself. And you can see where the conversation went wrong or where it went better. And this kind of technology is really opening up endless opportunities in the business realm at this point. So yeah, we now see that as an architect, I started out as an architect, but now we are busy with building social conversation tools. As a designer, sometimes it can go in strange ways where you end up. So the thing that we are now building allows you to train feedback, to deal with aggression, to learn to present, emergency communication, sales and marketing conversations, and so on. And the interesting thing about this is that it's super scalable. So in the coming year, we will mostly focus on simulating, on increasing the how do you call it, improving the scenarios and the scripts that actually drive these conversations. That is the core element of everything. But we expect that this technology and this innovation will become adopted widely in all kinds of industries. Whether it's for simulating your architectural design or the impact of new traffic or pedestrian environments, or whether it's training social skills. I really think that this kind of game technology is changing the way that we as humans can interact with these kinds of worlds. Yeah, with this, I wanted to end my presentation, and I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Tim, for this very interesting presentation of your recent work. You open to us a completely new field. We will need to go to the next presenter because we are a little bit tied with the time. Maybe after you will get some questions on email and we will discuss about your presentation. So I will invite architect Misak Terbesian to present his work. I will say that he is a well-respected professional and many times awarded architect from Eindhoven as well, like Tim. So, Misak, please.
Thank you, Biljana, for introduction, and thank you, Tim, for your explanation. I know Tim from the past, so I know him already a long time ago. It's nice. He told something about the Dutch Design Week. I will open this one. Wait a minute. Where is it? Do you see my screen? The presentation?
You have to share it. You have to share it.
Oh, beeld te scherm. Okay.
Yes.
Now you see it, yeah?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, Tim told something about the Dutch Design Week, so I will not tell too much about it. The most important part is that we are with our studio at the location where the most things happen at the Dutch Design Week. And at this moment, there are several items which you will see when you're in Eindhoven and you will visit Dutch Design Week. One of the parts what Tim was telling will also be seen at the location. We are an architecture studio, but we are also engaged in city planning, but then in a small scale. And what you see here is a map of what will happen in the Dutch Design Week as locations. So it's a map where you will see where the several points is what the Dutch Design Week will show. And we are at this moment with our studio here at this spot, when you can recognize my cursor. What's to tell about the location, Eindhoven? In the past, there was this Philips area. This Philips was a big multinational company, was established in Eindhoven. And you see the location, it was complete industry. So in somewhere in the mid 80s, 90s, Philips left this area and it was developed in 20 years with new buildings. The next image will show you a little bit more. So this is the aerial picture from above where you see all these big buildings which are realized on this location. It happened all in 20 years time. So you can imagine what kind of impact it had for the city of Eindhoven, but also for as we are working in this area. And I think Tim is in one of those buildings. He has his studio also. And my studio is at the front of this tower, which is completely with green. That's from Burri, an Italian architect. And the most interesting part of this Design Week, Dutch Design Week, is also all kind of experiments with dwellings, small dwellings, tiny houses, bio-based houses. So when you will visit Dutch Design Week, you will all encounter all kind of interesting experiments. Of course, also the virtual reality experiments, which Tim just explained. This is the location where our studio is, on the 4th floor. This is the view from our studio. And this is our studio. Of course, I have people in the real world. We are a studio with 6 people and 5 different nationalities. And our common language is English at the studio because that's the way we can communicate with each other. So it is very basic, our profession. As in comparison, what Tim was explaining, he is in a virtual reality working, and we are working in the real world with clients with real demands also, and clients who have different kind of demands which they want to see in buildings. So that's the contradiction also with the thing what Tim is doing, and it's nice to see these differences also. What I want to show you now is a project. Oh, I skipped this. What I want to show you is a project which we did some time ago. We got several international prizes for this, and I will present this project also in Singapore in November at the World Architecture Festival. And what's interesting about this project is that it is reacting on the climate change, which is urgent at this moment. It is affordable housing for people with very low income. And it has different solutions which we have at this moment in our world. So I will show you a short impression of some images, and I think that I will give a try later on with the animation, but I'm not sure if it works. So the location where we talk about is Bangladesh. If you know Bangladesh, you know what happened the last years there, floods. This was a terrible problem in Bangladesh and still is. The poverty also in which the people live. And we had six main goals to think about for this project. And we were taking in a way what our solution could be for Bangladesh. What is the most sensible way to find a solution for these people? So we developed or we call it a micro colony, that the people can self-develop several areas on the water, and that can establish their own small community, which they can also give shape and form with together, and that there's not a higher government who is giving structure to these kind of solutions. So people can do it in their own way. So we proposed several solutions how they can live. We give also a solution how they can adapt themselves to grow vegetables, to grow different kind of plants, that they can be self-supporting. So this whole colony is also self-supporting. And we also propose some building system which is easily built in Bangladesh itself. So some plans as to explain to the government also how you can and to the people how you can make the layout of your dwellings. And the materials which we propose were also materials which came from Bangladesh, is bamboo, which is very common used in Bangladesh itself. Some impressions. How much time I have still, Biljana?
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
1 minute?
5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, maybe I can give a try with animation now if it works.
Yes.
I will look. Try and find it. We will see if it works. Do you see the animation?
Yes, excellent. Looking beautiful.
Yeah. So when you have time, end of November, you are invited in Singapore.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Misak. It's really an interesting way to show us how the innovation can apply with contemporary time today. So
yeah.
We have one more architect in this first part. It's the Miljana Zekovic. She will speak about curating how the curating of architectural experience. So I will invite Miljana to join us.
Okay, hi. I hope you hear me.
Yes.
So first of all, I'd like really to apologize. I have some pre-scheduled meeting that I am not able to avoid. It happens at 1 p.m. So I will just finish this presentation, and I will definitely look at the footage of this conference later on. And hopefully we can stay connected, stay in touch, and perhaps exchange some views on what's happening. Dutch Design Week sounds really interesting for us. My presentation is perhaps a bit longer, so I will try not to talk too much, perhaps only at the beginning. It's a bit different than Tim's, and especially I have tons of questions regarding not only the ethics, but other stuff related to artificial intelligence and digital experiences of people, because we are still doing something different. And I'll just show some examples. So the title of my presentation is, as you see, Curating Spatial Experience Architecture that Tells Stories. And today I'd like to speak and discuss about the architecture as a powerful storyteller, about the importance of the engaged architecture, about the architectural narratives, about the spatial embodiment, to which we usually refer to as the amplification of the human experience in particular space. And I will briefly present 3 projects, one creation project by a famous colleague and 2 of our own projects realized here in Serbia. And I will show how architecture becomes a storyteller for a narrative of a complex architectural program, and through which modalities the spatial experience of the story is built for users of these spaces. So usually I start my presentations with this quote, which I cannot for some reason show, but it's here. So this is, I think, one of the most favorite quote of mine ever by Mete Hočevar, who is Slovenian architect and scenographer. And the quote says, "Nothing can happen unless it happens somewhere." And this somewhere opens multiple opportunities for those who think and define spaces, for architects, builders, and designers, and who are ready to expand the stories of their clients and investors. Some stories are so complex that they require the full commitment of all parties in the realization process in order to be truthfully transferred. And architecture that brings such narratives inevitably becomes the architecture of the story. So storytelling in architecture refers to the skill of creating and leading a story through the architectural design that includes and complements the story. In this process, it is important to recognize and acknowledge the active role of architecture as a subject in creation of the user's spatial experience. This further development of a particular narratively and programmatically driven spatial experience relies on the architectural means, elements and formations of architecture, recognition and understanding of the contextual memory layers, as well as the relationship to and the correct use of selected forms, geometries, textiles, materials, spatial proportions, and scale. And 3 characteristics that are crucial in this process are: first, determination of the identity of the place, then particularity of the architectural design, and the uniqueness of the spatial experience. The Gensler Research Institute argues that architecture and literature share 4 elements for telling a story. And those are characters or the users, imagery, the narrative flow, and of course, the theme. And in the next 3 projects, we can follow the modalities through which architecture tells stories. And I mark them as linear, cumulative, and lateral, meaning that the first example will show the linear modality, and I will show it on example of Idis Turato's Museum of Apoxiomenos on Mali Loši in Croatia that dates to 2016. That was the architecture conceived and realized in such a way that it linearly arranges the user's experience, leading them from point A to point B through a series of waypoints that reinforce the story and amplifies users' expectations, who are, in this particular example, well aware of what they are moving towards. Then cumulative modality, I will show on another example, which will be our own proposal for the competition for the Memorial Center of the victims of the pogrom in Bačka in Vojvodina from 2022. And in this case, the architectural concept of the main exhibition, also primarily linear, but without clear expectations of the visitors. So it implies the accumulation of spatial experiences to a kind of catharsis that the user experience at the end of the road. And the third modality would be lateral. I will show it also on one of our projects, which was conceived as a space-time dialogue that allows the visitors to move freely through micro-urban ambience to adopt layered narratives. So the first example, I'll just go briefly through it. This is one of the very famous stories, A Home of a Story, Museum of Apoxyomenos. It shows excellence in practice, and this is something like a role model for our way of thinking when we do these kinds of architectural narratives ourselves. So this particular example shows architecture as a must for a story, as a necessity, as a foundation and a basis. Architecture is a place of events and action, architecture as a narrator, as a storyteller, and actually architecture that tells this story. So it was promoted as, if not the only one in the world, then surely the only one in this part of the world, a museum for just one artifact. And that is Museum of Apoxyomenos in Mali Lošinj, the Croatian island, and is probably one of the best examples of how heritage can work for us. And the story goes like this. It is like an ancient contemporary story. 2000 years in the dark, the sea hid a secret. In 1996, the accidental action of a diver tourist led to the discovery of the most beautiful secret of the Adriatic Sea, a fantastic sculpture. A bronze statue of a unique find in the Adriatic Sea, which dates back to 1st or the 2nd century BC. It is possible that we will never know exactly what happened to the statue, but its discovery, recovery, restoration, and the new life of the beautiful Greek athlete have become an intriguing story in recent Croatian culture, with elements of drama and thriller and spectacle, valuable treasure for Croatian heritage. So they named him a silent ambassador of Croatian culture around the world. It is situated in a ruined Kvarner palace at the sea line in Mali Lošinj. So the architect got the building, got the ruin, and he thought about how to restore it in order to accommodate the new program. And this concept that he developed here was concept of a house within a house, and the house experience that he managed to achieve was a huge promise for visitors. So here you can just see some of their sketches and things that it is developed together with his team. But later on, perhaps on this GIF, hopefully it's moving, you can see that the house, the new house that got inside the old architectural framework is so carefully designed and so immersive and overwhelming. The house of Apoxyomenos slowly builds the expectation of visitors. After the labyrinth of incredible rooms and collected and adopted information, when you finally come to the sculpture, which stands in a smooth room with a tactile and soft milk-colored clothing, where photography is not allowed, you take a deep breath and you say to yourself in a lower voice how beautiful the sculpture is, because you went through all these rooms that led you eventually to this sculpture, and the efforts you made to get to him are no longer important, and all the story fall into the place. And all this was enabled by architecture and carefully produced the second home inside the home that led the visitors from one point to another. So the second modality I would show through one of our own proposals for the competition. We got some awards here also. That was the title of our proposal was Island of Memory, but it was a memorial center for the pogrom victims in Bačka. And the complex of Novi Sad Memorial Center is quite an interesting and sensitive topic, as it was supposed to be developed many years earlier, but now only people are starting to thinking about it for these events that happened in 1943. And the complex of Novi Sad Memorial Center is thematically, conceptually, and spatially represents the collective memory base of the event and the victims of the pogrom in Bačka. It is conceived as an inseparable part of the context from which it emerges. The building transmits its own system of values to the environment through a specific relation to its immediate context, then to programs that we defined and have the purpose of fulfill the purpose of the facility, and also the qualitative conditions of the public facility at the given location. So I will just quickly go through these architectural drawings and proposal, because the idea was, or the concept of this proposal was really similar to one that we saw in Edis's museum. And this is a house within a house. So we were really restricted to a specific area, and the location was just widely open, but the place for the house was really small. So we decided to dedicate the ground level and level beneath the ground for the public, and to develop the story of the pogrom for this unique spatial experience that someone can actually feel inside the project. So it does look quite monumental and quite memorial. It's not so big actually, and it really fits into the context, because what surrounds the object, the building, is the socialist modernist heritage of Novi Sad. So somehow it does also have relations to its immediate surroundings. The idea was to just let the grass and surroundings get over the top of the building, and to provide the rooftop of a specific program there. But inside, yes, and the rooftop is really something interesting, because on the rooftop there was it was planned that it actually came out as an overlapping of plans of the building construction plans, then plans of the program scheme of the permanent exhibition, and plans of sacred symbols of faith, which in further interpretations conveyed the idea of 14 points of the pogrom in Bačka. So it does also have some geographical and topological connections. So this is the rooftop. The rooftop is something that you can access from outside of the building, completely unaware what's happening in the building, or if you access it through the building, it is the end of the user's experience. And the program orientation within the building left two floors, or just the ground floor for standard public purposes, with one interesting centrally positioned huge staircase made in oak that was actually an entrance to the story, and the story developed on the second floor, and it really led through these specific schemes visitors from one point to another, where they could actually face what was happening during the pogrom and listen the whole story about the collective memory, building up to that collective memory, and reaching out, as the scene 8 here shows, reaching out the rooftop that was actually a place for meditation, place for contemplation, and place for celebrating life after this horrible story and the experience that we've just learned, and that's helped us understand what our collective memory is based on. The third project will show this lateral understand of modality through which architecture tells a story. So this pavilion we realized in July 2022 together with the Center for the Holocaust Research and Education. So the story came through them. They asked for an architecture of the exhibition for stringers, and the name was Evolution of Precariousness, Freedom of Testimony. We were rewarded at the biggest architectural manifestation in Serbia, a Grand Prix for this project. We're really proud of it because this is a micro-architecture, and it was actually competing with everything that was built in Serbia in the last 2 years. So finally, juries in Serbia understand a little bit wider the role of an architect. So the collaboration between the Center for Holocaust Research and Education and Ephemera Collective, which is my collective, was about this concrete pavilion, or the architecture of the exhibition. It was opened in July 9, lasted until August 9th in 2022. And it was followed by guided and thematic discussions throughout the month. The story of stringers, perhaps if you're not familiar with the topic, and is that they are freelancers in media industry, journalists, videographers, photographers, unprotected and unsecured by an existing contract with one of the media companies. So they're forced at cost of their lives to report from the front and from the conflict. And this story came through the Center for the Holocaust Research. They brought the materials, they brought 20 stories of 20 different people who themselves were stringers in different conflicts since the World War II until the present days. And we were there to curate not only the content, but to think about it spatially and how this really problematic, really fragile topic, how to pass it to our audience. And the framework for the story, of course, was given by the Novi Sad European Capital for Culture Foundation. They did have some sensitivity towards these topics. So eventually they supported this project. And it happened in the ruined complex of the former Petar Drapšin factory, which is a block formerly known as Chinatown in Novi Sad, and today it's the creative district in Novi Sad. It was part of the building number 9, an exhibition pavilion for stringers was designed by us. And the architecture of the story was site-specific by type, the one that arose from conditions of a specific place. It is unique and resonates exclusively to that place, and its displacement was not possible without violating the integrity of the newly established values. And entering the dialogue with the ruined remains of the previous buildings, the new architecture is like the house in the house, opened microambience for exhibition. Smooth passage from these intertwined units enabled the uninterrupted flow of the story and the uniqueness of each of the spatial segments referred to the specific fate of the individual or a group of stringers to whom it was dedicated. So the microarchitecture that was a bearer of the macro idea in this project enabled multiple trans-categorical dialogues. First of them, the flowing space between the interior and the exterior. Then microurbanism through microambience, heritage protection through the new ephemeral purpose of the deindustrialized part of the city, experimental and research work, and finding an appropriate spatial response to the current issues of ongoing wars and crises that they cause. So I had to read a little bit, otherwise I would talk for hours, but hopefully you got the idea about the sort of architectural activism that we are trying to establish here. Also, Biljana is very, she knows our work very well. She follows us, and we are also really engaged in protection and some sort of careful and sustainable presentation of the architectural heritage of the 20th century in Serbia, which is really not protected, to make it sustainable, and in projects that make this this heritage sustainable through these stories. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Miljana. It's really important what you are doing with your group of professionals, and I think your work has even now has a good impact to the city of Novi Sad. I think that people try to understand why the protection of modernism in Novi Sad in the city is important. So thank you for this.
Thank you.
We are continue with our colleague Jelena Guga from Institute of Philosophy and Social Theory. She will speak about art and robots. Jelena, please start.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Biljana. Thank you so much for a nice introduction, and thank you for inviting me to participate in the conference. I will just briefly introduce myself, and then I will skip to the presentation. My name is Jelena Guga, as Biljana said, and my background is in new media, arts and culture, but also I have a bachelor's degree in philology, that is Chinese language and literature, so I'm kind of a all-in-one person. I'm currently coordinator of the Digital Society Lab at the Institute for Philosophy and Social Theory, University of Belgrade, and our work, we're a very interdisciplinary team, and our work revolves around emerging technologies, AI included, and their impact on humans as individuals and as a society. So let me just share my presentation with you. Just a second. It's this one. All right, and let's start. Okay, and I don't know why. Oh, is this okay?
Yes.
All right. So the title of my talk today is AI and Art, Co-Creating with the Machine. You will briefly see why it's not only AI art or AI in art, but AI and art. I will have like 5 parts of the presentation. I will start with the discourse overview, and then I will go back to the history of AI and digital art in general. Then I will give some critical stances, what are the issues and what are pros and cons of the development and introduction of this technology in art. And I will give some examples and use them as case studies to back my claims. And in the end, instead of a conclusion, because it's very, very difficult to make any conclusions of such fresh and widely available technology. So I'll just kind of give you some more topics to think about and to discuss in the future. When we look at the discourse overview, first we need to define AI art. So the most general definition is that it is a contemporary artistic practice involving the utilization of artificial intelligence, algorithms, and technologies to create or contribute to artistic work. AI art exists at the intersection of art and technology, of course, leveraging machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, and other AI techniques to generate, modify, or enhance artistic content. So this fusion opens up basically new dimensions for artistic expression, but it also challenges traditional notions of creativity and authorship, which I will argue is nothing new. We will soon see this when I go to the historical overview. So AI also redefines creative processes. And the discourse around AI art often centers on how AI alters the creative process. While traditional art is deeply human-centric, AI introduces an element of machine-generated creativity, posing questions about the role of machines in the creative realms. And that in theory, let's say, or in philosophy, this opens up some critical post-humanist questions and about basically challenging the human-centric worldview. AI is mostly seen as a collaborative tool, but there are, again, oppositional opinions. But as collaborative tools, those who are on this poll, they argue that AI serves as a tool, enhancing the capabilities of artists, providing novel insights, and aiding in the realization of artistic visions. This view sees AI as a collaborator rather than a replacement for human creativity. And at the same time, the rise of AI art has also sparked debates on whether it challenges the essence of traditional artistry, including the authenticity, uniqueness, and emotional depth that human-generated art offers. And critics question whether AI can truly understand or experience art in a meaningful way, also whether it is creative. These are the questions that we are all familiar with, especially from the media, where this technology is really hyped up. So the answer to the question whether it is doing it in a meaningful way, I would say no. And yes, no, because firstly, it is a software, a statistic predictive machine. And secondly, it is still a human that is artistic product, because training data sets are the products of artistic human labor throughout the art history. And then what goes into the training set is again selected by a human agent for the algorithm training, right? And then the prompt that you give to the algorithm, to the program, is given by a human. And finally, it is a human that selects which output that AI gives you will be used and which discarded. And whether it is creative or not, we can say yes, in the sense that it challenges traditional art in the methods of production, urging artists to come up with novel ways of creating processes. So it's not like consciously creative, but what it does is basically urges us to redefine again and again. It's not the first time to what is art, to redefine arts institution, and again, I argue this is nothing new, but it's more complex and more refined, let's say. Also, when we talk about the discourse of AI and AI art, one important thing is public perception and recognition. The discourse also delves into the public reception and recognition, understanding how audiences perceive and value AI-generated works is critical in shaping the future of AI art and its acceptance within the broader art community. The problem is, if your perceptions and understanding are based on media or I don't know, science fiction, Hollywood narratives, then what is necessary is to work more on digital literacy, media literacy, and AI literacy, basically to go more in depth to understand what this technology is. And of course, as with any other technology, there are significant ethical considerations, and they're a fundamental part of the discourse because they touch on the issues of copyright, ownership, data privacy, originality, and biases present within AI algorithms. And as AI becomes a creative tool, it raises questions about who owns the resulting creations and the implications for originality and plagiarism. I will not go deeply now into that, but I would just like to mention that all these AI art generators are, they used artworks as training data without the consent of the artists and without the knowledge of the artists. So now lots of artists are engaged in the, so let's say it's a movement, opt out. So they want their artworks to be out of the training data, but also efforts are being made, I think, by Stable Diffusion, if I'm not mistaken. I just recently read an article that they are now, it's also an art platform and also has an AI generator, that they are now introducing the artist consent, and also in case their artwork is used in generating AI art, that they would be compensated. It's not clear in what way and how they're, but this is at least the beginning of sorting these issues out, and it's a baby step, but it's going into that direction. Also, along with AI regulations that are present in the EU, and also in the world. So yeah, just all right, next slide. So we go back quickly to the history to see that AI is not new, even though it now exploded and it's like available for all. So that's why it is so significant. And also the technological development now, and 50, 60 years ago, it's not comparable, but we can trace the early beginnings and the roots of AI art back to the 50s and the 60s, when computer programming and digital technologies were in their infancy. But at that time, artists and computer scientists began experimenting with early computer programs to generate simple artistic patterns and shapes. And that was what it was, only experiments. It was not considered art or anything close to art. But then in the 70s and 80s, we saw the emergence of computer art as artists started utilizing basic algorithms to create geometric forms and visual compositions. And the works of artists like Vera Molnar and Frida Neik exemplifies early explorations into algorithmic arts. In the 90s is where actually algorithmic art evolution happened, but not only algorithmic art, but also new media art in general. Because of the advancements in computing power and software. So artists simply adopted algorithms to generate intricate and visually captivating artworks, setting the stage for the integration of algorithms into artistic creations. So basically the 90s saw the advent of new media art and different kinds of new media art, net art, robotic art, virtual art, also bioart, and by virtual art, I mean art for VR and made in VR. And also the traditional art institutions caught on to integrate such artworks into their collections. And at the time, I think it was in the end of the 80s, that art festivals like Ars Electronica started emerging. Already in early 2000, this period marked a turning point with the integration of machine learning techniques into arts. And then because at the time the use of GANs, generative adversarial networks, started in 2014, and then further revolutionized AI art. So 2010s, rise of AI-driven artwork, most prominent, like most typical example is Google releasing Deep Dream in 2015, which created a sensation for its unique dreamlike images. And at present, we have AI as a creative tool, and we see actually democratization of art as AI art generators like DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and others are available to everyone. And AI has become a prevalent tool in the artistic toolkit, and artists, technologies, and AI researchers collaborate to produce diverse AI-generated artworks. AI art is now featured in prestigious galleries and exhibitions, gaining acceptance within the traditional artwork. However, what needs to be really discussed and really regulated is all these ethical concerns about the AI. And the most important thing is to go beyond the hype about AI and beyond all is doom and gloom, our profession is destroyed, we are obsolete, which I think that most of us experienced when we first encountered these technologies and started playing with them. Aside from the ethical concerns, we have to start, as I mentioned, with demystifying the technology to really get to know what it is, how it works, what it does, and to ask more questions about the creativity, originality, and human touch, and and to ask also whether these are the right questions to ask, or maybe to go even further and to anticipate how we can use this technology in a good way, in a more creative way, and how they contribute not only to creating better artworks, but only for our self-reflection and the meaning of art, and so on and so forth. The main critical point I like to make when I talk about AI art is that I like to differentiate. Biljana, just tell me the time, please.
You have maybe 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll be quick. Okay, so I always differentiate between AI art, which is art generated by softwares, and the use of AI in art by artists. So basically, it's technology versus concept. And what makes, in my opinion, art is the concept. And that regardless of the technology or the media used, it can be brush for the painting, like the most traditional artwork, or it can be AI. What matters and what makes an artwork is the concept and the topic that the work addresses. So this is the one example of AI art, the Next Rembrandt project. Basically, Microsoft teamed up with an advertising agency and the Rembrandt Museum, I think, and then they fed the algorithm every possible painting and sketch and drawing by Rembrandt, and then the AI in the end produced this image. This got great media attention, so it's like a very fine example of AI art. More commercial is Google's Deep Dream, which, as other AI generators, turns text to image. And this is AI art, which I tend to call, with all due respect, that I tend to call it digital decoration, because I don't see, apart from being just amazed at the first sight, I don't see any depth, any critical stance, any topic that is being, addressed by the artwork. Another fantastic example of, in my opinion, eye candies, digital eye candies, are the works of Rafik Anadol. I had trouble, I don't know why, embedding the video, but you can just Google his name and you will see how impressive and immersive his installations are. This is an image of an artwork that was realized in MoMA Museum. It's called Unsupervised Machine Hallucinations, where the algorithm was fed all the artworks of MoMA and from their digital collections, and then the algorithm would just create some mishmash of the I actually invite you to check the artwork and other artworks of his to see how impressive, how immersive it is. But then again, in my through my critical eye and opinion, I don't find the value, artistic value. It's to me more commercial, more on the entertainment and awe-inducing side of art. Basically, these kind of artworks show what are the reaches of the technology, what the technologies can do. And on the other side, when I talk about AI in art, I talk about brilliant artists who use the technology to address social issues, ecological issues that this technology or other emerging technologies bring. So one of my favorite critical artists, critical towards the technology of AI. Just a second. It's Trevor Paglen, and this is one of the images, clouds, and it's an artwork that superimposes, like that shows the photos of clouds to an algorithm that has its own views, and then basically the work addresses the issue of autonomous weaponry, autonomous machines, and so on. There are also other fantastic artworks. I urge you to check them and the topics that he touches upon. Why? Hold on. I'm trying to go to the next slide, but it's not happening. Am I still sharing the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
But,
yeah. Also another artwork by Christian Mia Sinclair, Narcissus. No, it's stuck on my screen. The cloud is stuck. Okay, I'll just keep it like this.
Yes.
Yeah, so Narcissus is an artistic intervention in artificial intelligence whose only purpose is to investigate itself, referencing a systematic model of self-awareness, a fragment of artificial narcissism, and the fictional character in its own autobiographical narrations. Check this work, check other artwork of his, because it's so critical on the self-reflection. And what I love about, many things I love about this work, but what I specifically love about it is that it is not possible to have any kind of human intervention. It is self-reflective, self-sufficient. It's completely like a machine for a machine type of artwork. And finally, some concluding remarks that with the AI generators, there's nothing new under the sun. I would say it's just more sophisticated, more complex, which is a bigger challenge, but whoever is familiar with the history of digital media, of media theory, of new media art, will see that with each technology there is all this hype, and then when the air cools down, we see what are the real uses and potentials of the technology. And to answer the question of machine creativity, I will quote Margaret Bowden, who said that to be creative, an idea or an artifact need to be new, surprising, and valuable. And what is a common thread, a common characteristic of AI produced, whether image, video, or text, is that the results are mediocre, repetitive, and commonplace, as Levmanovic said. They are too general, and the AI privilege is the popular over that which is rare and unique. So what we need to think about is how we can direct these tools to give more than something which is common, and how to bring the artistic moment into the using this kind of technology. As I mentioned, AI regulation and legislation is underway, but it's necessary to be really put in place, as we saw with the example of China, for example, who China brought a law that everything that is AI generated has to have a watermark basically on it, so that you know that it's AI product. So it's possible to regulate it. Maybe not as radically as China, but it's possible. Beyond the hype and beyond the doom and gloom, AI tools certainly open up the space for new forms of creativity, new ways of thinking, and coexisting with our technologies. So thank you all so much. And if you have any questions or would like to discuss more, you can.
So if somebody have a question, we have time for the questions. But what
I put my email down here in the slide,
so
if you can see it.
You can communicate with the people. So we see that artificial intelligence must go under a regulation, that is for sure. And the question of artistic value is still under the question. So in the process of development, this is the short conclusion. And now we are going to the Brussels, to Jim Doyle. Jim will present his overview of innovation processes in Europe. So Jim, please start.
Hi there, everybody. Well, before I get started, thank you. That's been brilliant so far. Some very, very interesting stuff. There's just, I'm writing questions down and I've run out of paper. I must have wrote 40, 50 questions down, and just observations and bits of information. I'm going to do something terrible as well. I'm going to pop between two presentations. One is the presentation I was asked to do, Biljana. Do forgive me, you can bully me and tell me awful things later.
Okay.
But at the moment, I'm going. Hello? Hello, are we all still there?
Yes, yes, we are.
I've lost everybody. Oh, sorry, my it's telling me my connection is unstable, but that might be in relation to me personally rather than my connection. So, I'm going to pop between those two things, and I'll see if it works. And if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So, I'm going to pick up the first presentation, and I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you, and hopefully something crazy should pop up. That one there. And because I'm going to pop between the two of them, I'm going to just leave it live like that, if you don't mind. I hope everybody's okay with that. So it's a bit messy, but look, life is messy. So my name's James Doyle. I've worked with Biljana for years. I've known her for a long time. Absolute genius. But then again, I seem to be surrounded by geniuses here. And I'm happy to be in a place which is very interesting for me, which is slipping between the one type of practice, and then I believe there's an artist to come after me, which is a wonderful place to be. So I've been involved in a few things in Europe, European Capital of Culture Coordinator, books with Biljana, and pro-CCS, creative and cultural sector, microfunding, and quite recently. And I also continue to maintain a practice. So my original background is in the arts. I was trained as an artist, fine artist in Chelsea College of Art and Design. And you can see two pieces of mine there, which speak to my interests. This one is connected more to portraiture. So I've got my professional work and my art, and that's the funny thing to say, isn't it? That my artistic work is not my professional work, but it is too. So my artistic work. So I do portrait painting and installations, and where I'm concerned with installations is around the city. The next slide up, I presented this in Sofia last year at the innovation conference there, and it was an invitation in culture, an invitation to be unusual. And the reason I presented that and contextualized it like that is because, and I just need to, I think I'm going to have to go to running this as well to make it work, because not all of it's coming up for me. There we are. I'll have to get rid of you. So it was an invitation to be an invitation to be unusual. And the reason I chose that is because innovation in the popular context is usually inside technology at some part, or in some part, or the tech industries, and even in the creative and cultural sector. You know, when we talk about innovation, people start talking about the creative sector, or the IT sector, or the digital sector, but nearly all of the digital content we've got going on comes from the cultural sector. So it's a very, very interesting slippage, and I just wanted to maybe break that perception for the wider public. I'm sure we don't have that kind of perception, but for the wider public, innovation exists outside of the normal laboratories. I can hold my hands up and say I actually worked in Intel for a couple of years, doing some of the analysis and work there. So I know what those laboratories are like, and I know what that innovative experience is like in an industrial context. But I also know what it is in an unusual laboratory. And there is, Biljana asked me to mention the culture labs and their recipes for social innovation. This is one that I track now and again. It's quite an interesting one. I recommend people go off and have a look at that. But when I say unusual laboratories, I'm talking about the laboratories where art happens, where very often you don't know what's going to happen. And that, to me, strikes to the heart of innovation. It's what might be unusually produced, and this is one of those unusual products. I hope this runs. I'll run it for a couple of seconds. Hopefully that runs for us. So I'm going to talk over it slightly. It's a street opera. So one of my colleagues commissioned a public arts officer, Rory O'Queeve, excellent man, fantastic skills, commissioned these in conjunction with another number of organizations. These happened as actual street operas, and then they happened again, as you see them here, as digital presentations on the street. That's a little bit loud for me. I'll turn that down a bit. So you can see how people are engaged with those, and they've got headphones on, and it's happening in the street. So it's an unusual product. It's taking contemporary issues about opera and presenting them as operas on the street. The one I wanted to bring you to this one, I'm going to talk about it very quickly, drive-by shooting. So it's an opera about a drive-by shooting, but the three protagonists are an elderly man, his wife, and his lover. And his wife finds out about his lover, and she chases him down the street on Zimmer frames with a gun and kills him. And that's the opera. That's the total of the opera. But it's very slow because all of them find it difficult to walk, and they have to go down the street using these Zimmer frames. Other unusual products. There was a commission some years ago where an organization I was working with was asked to take on these wristbands. So these are unusual collaborations between the arts and medical practice. Not so unusual now anymore, but they happen more than people realize. One of the things that came up at the time was we were asked, you know, could your artist look at this medical wristband and see are there any other uses? This is where the unusual might come in, the unexpected. And one of the things that came back was one of the artists took the commissioned money and gambled it all away while wearing the armband. And all the data she got back from that was used to feed back algorithms for producing gaming machines and refining gaming machines. So it had a really practical outcome. I mean, it does speak volumes about gambling and the arts and society and things like that, but it's very interesting all the same. Another one where things might go slightly to one side is, amongst many other things, I was lucky enough to run with my partner a place called Biospace, which sounds wonderfully kind of organic, and but I should put my hands up. That Biospace means by invitation only. That was the only way we could get around making sure that we were licensed and make the thing work. We were approached by Kevin Abosch, who's done a good bit of AI and digital work in his own work. Absolutely fantastic artist. Kevin wanted to exhibit, and it was after a bit of a dialogue with Kevin, we came around to say, well, look, we don't do the real commercial stuff in this gallery. We do the kind of unusual, organic, and you'll see where this is going in a second, slightly different work, the unusual expectations, the unusual, the more innovative maybe practice. And we asked Kevin to reflect on that. Kevin at that point was very well known and is still well known as one of the most renowned celebrity photographers there is, Johnny Depp being one of the many people he's taken photographs of. Kevin came back to us and with a series of pictures of potatoes, celebrity potatoes, celebrity Irish potatoes. And that work was very successful to this extent.
No sound. Jim?
Are you getting no sound, guys?
Yes. No.
No sound. Oh God, what will I do? Okay, so this is a report. I'll talk through it instead. And it's all over the web, where subsequently one of Kevin's potatoes sold for $1 million. One of his pictures potatoes sold for $1 million. I think that in itself is unusual, that a potato should sell, a picture of potato should sell for $1 million. I think the departure and the innovative part of that is where Kevin stepped aside from the celebrity output and the skill and took something entirely different, and that was met with such or had such an impact that its economic output was relatively unequaled in terms of celebrity potato photographs. I'm going to just skip a slide there for a second and just go to the unusual side effects. So the creative and cultural sector has a lot of spillovers in terms of maybe innovation and unusual practices. There's spillovers into knowledge, industry, and networks, and benefits. The creative and cultural economy, as many of you probably know, is worth 2.5 times the world's military expenditure. So if we were talking about where you spend innovative money or where you're going to spend it, most people might spend it in technology, and as they do, we know, but a lot of money is spent in technology, and a lot of money is never seen, you know. So there's a lot of those tech startups and AI startups that don't necessarily garner an income straight away. Whereas the creative and cultural economy does, it generates an income almost immediately and massively significant incomes, but we don't tackle it. And I think that's partly because the sense of where the money is and where the innovation is doesn't always focus on the cultural sector or the creative sector. It doesn't look in that direction. It looks towards technology solely. And as I say, I'm advocating for a wider remit. The reason why I say that is that the creative and cultural sector, as opposed to the technology sector on its own, is much more resilient. It's connected to identity development. It's got social cohesion. It's got a whole variety of fruits and opportunities and innovative And those fruits are meant to give you an example of those innovative practices, but a whole range of solutions that don't often get picked. Usually we get the low-hanging fruit. We don't go for the unusual things in the tree because we don't really conjoin the potentials of the creative and cultural sector with IT and technology as much as we should. And I think there is, which will bring me to, I'm going to spin over to my other presentation now, which brings me along to the comments of our last presenter, where we were talking about ethics potentially and the nature of protection for artists and maybe exploitation. And so I think there is a natural resistance. There's definitely a natural resistance in the arts, an inherited resistance towards making money. The idea, the arts and the cultural sector carry with them ethics and ethos and senses of social responsibility that we don't always get in other areas or other sectors or other areas of industry. And I'm going to hopefully be able to flip over to the other one now. Can you see that screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I got thinking, I was preparing this for another thing. I got thinking about what we were talking about, and it made me think of, you know, what is this? What is AI? What is this revolution? And you know, I was thinking about a revolution in design, thinking in a brave new world. It reminded me of Audrey Huxley's book called The Brave New World, and it was about disruption, integration, and future possibilities seem to be part of what design thinking is. And I really like those words, future possibilities, very much so. Disruption, I like it. I like the idea that things are disrupted and change. But future possibilities is a little loaded for me. And I was a bit concerned that those future possibilities are all kind of positively predisposed. Does that make sense? Do you know that the possibilities are always, let's do the great thing, let's do the good thing. And I think we might be missing something out there. Do you know, there's maybe some more dangerous things that we find in the arts and culture that we don't find in the AI, and it's balancing this somewhat. So again, A Brave New World, the book, and this is a little quote from it. A brave new world, oh wonder how many goodly creatures are there here, how beauteous mankind is. Oh, brave new world that has such people in it. That's from The Tempest, from William Shakespeare. And it went on to, as I say, went on to form the nexus of the creativity of the book. But in that book, we have Caliban, who at the end of it resigns himself once again to the authority of Prospero. And it made me think, is that what we're advocating? You know, should we resign design or resign ourselves to the authority of AI? Is that kind of something we're suggesting here? So these next slides are all full of questions mostly, and I'm going to tip through them in that regard. So I dragged down a few kind of resonant and contemporary commentaries about this, and AI is reshaping the landscape of design thinking for the better. Not so sure about that, not so sure about that. But one of the things that came out of this particular comment was that it resonates with the hearts and minds of its users, leaving a profound and lasting impact on humanity. And I'm going to tease out that resonates with the hearts and minds in a second, but I think the lasting impact on humanity, AI is definitely, that's for sure, good, bad, or indifferent, there's definitely going to be a lasting impact. How we govern that or not, I'll try and challenge a little bit as we go along, but let's look at resonates. AI resonates with the hearts and minds of humanity. Well, resonates with the hearts and minds of its users, that's really empathy. And design thinking processes have always been human-centric processes focused on empathy and understanding the user's needs. And that made me think, well, is there an algorithm for empathy? And I found one in seconds. Yeah, there is. You know, it's a very simple one, and it's a very old one. So it's eye tracking and speech analysis, and it's used all the time. And there's a little reference to it there. And that jumped on the next question for me, which was, that the machine there is therefore learning and creating logarithms, you know, and for what purpose, you know? So I heard words like it disrupts traditional thinking. It's got ability to be data driven. It shifts the potential to disrupt traditional design. That all sounds grand, but so does a lot of artists. A lot of artists do that all day, every day. So I'm not seeing anything new there. But what I am seeing is this kind of thing, which is that it can anticipate users' needs and desires before they even realize them. And that's where I found a little bit of concern. So in terms of anticipation, it says human-centric processes focused on empathy. Who governs what that empathy is? I'm not so sure about that. You know, I mean, is it your empathy or my empathy? Empathy is not one single thing, you know, and it is the user. And I might be more empathic today than I am yesterday. It depends how I feel, you know. It anticipates users' needs and desires before they realize them. Very afraid of that. Don't like that at all. If you can anticipate my needs, what's the use of me? What's the use of me if you know, I might as well not be here if you can anticipate my needs. And then it reminded me of a quote by a feminist quote that I can just about remember. So I've abbreviated it somewhere here. What I wanted yesterday is not what I want today, and it will be different again tomorrow. And also, it's your job to know that. So I think that's very true. And I don't think you can have an algorithm for that. I could be proven wrong, and I'm sure those who have the skills will be able to prove me wrong on that. But I think it's a wonderful area to start exposing. You know, is what's the use of me, and also do we change a lot more than I think we do? I think we do. So then I thought, well, how could we break the machine? What could we do? And it says that these things are data driven and focused on users and business. But if I'm not a user or a business, does AI impact me? And it probably does. And can an AI revolution in design thinking truly disrupt? I don't think it can, because it's got parallels. It's got like, take care, don't do anything dangerous, don't upset anyone, don't do anything out of the ordinary. So I'm not sure if it's truly disruptive, or it can be disruptive. Can it cause its own disturbances or problems? Well, it doesn't seem to be. We're very worried about how it might create disturbances or problems or issues. One of the fears around AI is what might happen, what might go wrong. And I wondered then if the future possibilities of AI are solutions focused, and then if they are, how can they embrace negativity and failure? Because there's a lot of this is predisposed towards success. And I'm not sure I want everything to be successful. I had a little look at negative possibilities. Can AI embrace negative possibility? Well, it already does. So a negative future possibility is correct and usable in written English. You can use it to refer to hypothetical situations which are unlikely to happen, but which can happen. And one of them is to consider the negative possibility that wind turbines might cause disruption to the local population. That's okay, but it's also very palatable. It's kind of lightweight negativity. And I thought I'd like to know a little bit more about darker elements of negativity. And so I look back again to The Brave New World and the book by Aubrey Heck. Oh, you'll have to excuse me. Anyway, I look back at the book, Brave New World, and I asked the question of myself, can negativity include darker potential savage possibilities of AI? Can AI design include the savage, the fierce, the ferocious, the wild, the untamed, and the offensive? And one of the things that struck me about that phrase was the words fierce, ferocious, wild, and untamed. Those are things that I am quite attracted to, that attract me in the arts, that always pique my interest, that are unusual and different. Even the offensive, because it jars you from your position of safety somewhat. And then I was, because of that, I was drawn down to the character John, who is in the book returns to being a savage and ultimately becomes Mr. Savage, or the savage in the AI. it astounded me to find that The Brave New World, the book by Aldous Huxley, 1932, is now a series. But then again, what's not a series on the web? The novel anticipates huge scientific advancements, AI, in technology, in this case, sleep learning, psychological manipulation. I think that's a fear for us with AI, and classic conditioning. Classic conditioning is an interesting one in the context of our previous speaker, in the context of what we're talking about. I would be concerned that that we are conditioned to be good citizens. I don't necessarily want to live in a society where we're conditioned to be good citizens, where we're conditioned to expect successful outcomes. I think one of the happier states of being is to understand that things aren't successful, and to understand what I want yesterday is not what I want tomorrow. And I don't know if AI can give us or help us along that pathway, especially as far as art and the creative culture sector goes. So I looked to one of the quotes in Mr. Savage, and I thought this was very good. But I don't want to comfort. I want God. I want poetry. I want real danger. I want freedom. I want goodness. I want sin. And it did leave me with this last question then, which is, does embracing the full potential of AI include embracing some form of danger? Because if it doesn't, then it's not truly innovative. Okay, I'm not going to spin back through the other ones, guys. That's me.
Okay.
I've
Lot
finished
of
that
questions.
presentation.
Thank you, Jim, and a lot of conclusions and questions. And we need to research more to understand all questions which you said through your presentation. And in the end, we have we have a real artist, Nicola Mazzura, directly from Rome, Italy. He will present his sculptures. Thank you, Jim, again. And you can, of course, ask the questions with the participant over email, and you can connect, interact, whatever you want. So, Nicola, please give us your artwork.
Hello. First of all, I will try to share my presentation. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Check the box for the sound, please.
Yeah. Just a little bit. Yeah, that's it. I think so. That's it. First of all, I want to do you see my presentation now? Because
Yes.
okay, yeah. First of all, I want to say who I am. My name is Nicola Mazzura. I live in Novi Sad, actually, Serbia, and I work at Academy of Arts Novi Sad, where I teach two courses. One course is typical sculpture, and the other course is called Installation Intervention Public Space. Actually, this second course I personally designed and planned that. Yes, like my personal course. Actually came out of project I did with the students, which was named the same as the subjects, and it came from my personal artistic practice. Yes. Actually, in my artistic work, I primarily deal with social engaged art, installation, and intervention in public space. For first thing is that for me very important, for my work very important is the interaction. Where you know, interaction with people and space, and because of that, one of these reasons that I created the project called From Noise to Sound, which I'm currently working on, in this project, I incorporate sculpture, music, installation, performance, video, and photography. I will, I think, show you. Yes, and this project is about redesigning military waste into music instruments, and I will show you the process of redesigning these objects. This first photography is actually from finding military waste and preparing it in few studios, and you know, this is just few photos about that, yes. The project From Noise to Sound, I'm engaged in the, as I said, redesigning military props into the sound objects by fitting these military props, for example, guns, helmets, and rocket launchers, rockets, shells, etc. And I made these sound objects, and I like to say that I redesigned military objects into the sound objects. These sound objects we use to create music, and this process of making music on sound objects is presented in the forms of performance at, let's say, different locations. And this is one location. Actually, I bring this object that I made to Graz, and I collaborated there with the art musicians in Graz, and I there asked them to try to make music out of this sound objects made from military objects. Yeah? And I will try now to show you the video that we made there. Because of that, I think that this is really important, not just to see the objects, and it's important that you heard sound of these objects. This is one video of just, I think, 3 minutes. If it's okay for me. This is a video presentation about part of the project I did in Graz with the musicians there, and in this project, first of all, you know, the question is how one can think and act in the relation to the distraction we are surrounded by. This is the main question. And actually, in the forming the idea, I started from my personal environment that I promote and that promotes distraction and constant distraction and hate. It's the environment which in the I grew and I still live. The civil war ended almost 30 years ago in the territory of former Yugoslavia, and it's still being used to promote destruction and this destruction and hate was promoted from in public, political, and media space. And because of that, I starting from let's say from my personal environment, and I express my very I think very subjective options, opinions about in this project, but very important for me is to that this project to be not conservative, then to be communicative in more levels. First of all, this project have this visual side and music side, and I decided from start to promote this project and that idea, not just like a visual thing that I decided to promote it as short through the short videos, and also to try to promote it in the social networks, and because of I start in this project with these short videos and promoting it not just in live, that just promoting it online. There is in one point lots of media's attention about this project, and for a few years I just do this media promotion like part, I think, really important part of this my idea, because the idea is not just to present the idea to people who can see the project in live, the people who can more people can see it online. So, and the one of the first video that he made, like some kind short presentation of this project, is a video which present one instrument made from military equipment, and it's some kind of visit cards, I think, so that I'm sorry, yeah, like this. This is really short video of 1 minute, I think so. It shows first instruments we made, violoncello made from a rocket launcher, and some can. sorry, something's happening. Oh, that's the end of that. It's end of that.
Thank you, Nicola.
And okay, this is actually can be the that's it. I think that is the end of my presentation. Yes, no, but one thing what I wanted to say is that there is the second phase of this project because we decided to of this object to create orchestra called Rusted Orchestra, made actually from this sound object that we made, and we asked composers to compose for this our orchestra, and we plan to show this in Novi Sad to performance in December. That's it. Thank you all.
Well, Nicola, thank you. It's really innovative project and also artistic project that can develop in the future, I think.
Yes, that is the idea.
It's
I think
idea.
this is wonderful.
Maybe with artificial intelligence or with digital approach or
Can I ask a
Maybe.
question? for
Yes,
Nicola?
please.
Yeah,
Yes, of course.
do you collaborate with musicians outside of the territory?
Yes. First of all, I live in Novi Sad, and when I start this project, I started like collaboration with musicians I know, like my friends and etc. They are part of my team. Yes, and this is the one part of the team. Idea is to create orchestra with musicians that I know there, but this is one part of this idea, and the other part of idea is to present these objects to other musicians and to ask them to try to make music on of course composers, but musicians is much more important for me, you know, because this is this new instrument is important for them because there is the sound, a new sound in these instruments, and this is not this is not yes. I collaborate with other musicians. Because of that, I go to Graz a few times. We was in Hungary also, and my idea is that I said that I can collaborate with other musicians. Yes.
Yes, I'm. That's great to hear. The reason why I asked that was because obviously there are musicians everywhere, but there's also military equipment everywhere. You know, so
yes,
it's a really interesting specialization, and also I like the way it's connected to innovation, because we're talking about new instruments essentially. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I start just with the idea that I want to get a sound from these objects. You know,
Yes.
sound is enough for me. But now, when I collaborate with musicians, we are, you know, making better sound from these objects. And I don't call it instruments. I call it sound objects. You know,
Yeah.
because I'm sculpture and I'm not so like you know, I'm not creating instruments, but I am now.
Yes. No, that's
Instrument
great.
creator, yes.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicola. We have to finish now. We are a little
Okay.
bit running on time, but I'm happy that I bring all of you on one place. I hope that we will continue interaction. And also I want to say that all of you will be invited to write the work or a paper, which will be published, which the paper will be published by our Culture Center of Vojvodina or Routledge Publishing from London. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Biljana.
Thanks.
Delighted.
Thank you.
Thank you
Elena,
so
bye.
much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Lovely to spend time with you. Cheerio.
Cheers.
Bye.